This is Sports Drive.
Welcome back into Sports Drive. Once again, I'm your host, Preston Moore. I mentioned earlier in the show, we would talk a little bit of baseball going on. We've briefly mentioned the Canyon Eagles, the only remaining high school team in contention in the playoffs right now. Their regional championship series starting tomorrow down at Texas Tech. Very excited to see how far they make it. But a new team will be on the block next year. The White Deer Bucks will have their own baseball team for the first time. Joining me to talk about it will be the head coach of that baseball team, John Anderson II. Coach Anderson, how you doing today?
I'm good. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. I'm excited to talk to you a little bit about what you guys have going on out at White Deer with this new baseball program. But first, before we get to that, I want to talk a little bit about the decision you've made to go from football to baseball, because you were the head coach at Follett for football. We've had you on the show to talk a little bit about that team and that season over the course of the football season. Now moving from football to baseball, is baseball a sport that you're more comfortable with? Is it a sport you have more experience with? What was the decision like to make that jump to change sports?
It was definitely a difficult decision for me. Ever since I was a little kid, I was the kid that played Little League baseball. I played select baseball growing up. It's been my true passion. I love football so much. I played it in college. I got to do all those fun things. But, I think my biggest calling is in baseball. Luckily, at White Deer, being six-man still, I'm going to get to be a big part of the football team as well. But I think my biggest role going over there will be baseball, and it was definitely tough. It was really tough. Follett, they have a lot of great kids. The community is great, but at the end of the day, I'm following out my little kid dream, as you could say, and being able to start a program by myself and from the beginning.
Yeah, definitely, and that's a very exciting thing, especially to be doing something that you've wanted to do since you were a little kid. I relate in that I get to host TV and talk about sports every day, something I've wanted to do since I was a little kid, and I get to do it right here in the Texas Panhandle. So I know where you're coming from with that. That being said, starting a program from the ground up is much easier said than done. We've seen it over the course of the last couple of years. We've seen it in a couple areas. We're going to see it next year in a couple different sports as well. Outside of White Deer baseball, there are a couple other schools who will be starting new programs, new sports that are gearing up for that. West Plains High School is probably the biggest and most prominent example here in the Texas Panhandle in terms of starting a program, and multiple programs in their case, from the ground up athletically, as they opened up their school just 2 years ago. White Deer, you guys have had obviously, it's not the same scenario that West Plains had, where you're starting an entire school and all the programs are starting all at once from the ground up. So you get to come in and kind of, I guess, be a part of a pre-existing infrastructure that's kind of already been there and been able to have athletics for some time now. And now you get to add one more to the mix. How exciting is that for you to start a program from scratch, to be able to really mold it and shape it how you want it to look?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's a big thing for me. Some people look at me and they say, hey, Coach, you're only 24. You've only been doing it for 3 years. But I think with my knowledge of everything and, Coach Beck and him having trusted me to start this program, that means a lot to me. That means a lot for him to reach out to me to want to start their program. That makes me feel so good about being a coach, and the whole reason I've been doing it for the kids. And, it's going to be tough. You're going to have expectations, but at the end of the day, they can be high, but they have to be reachable starting a program from scratch. Like we're not talking about, me coming in and taking over the program. It's from scratch. And so, it's going to be difficult for me. Absolutely. I'm going to have places where I can learn and I can grow. But my biggest thing is to let the kids have fun, let them play a game they enjoy. The community has so much support. I think Coach Keatley was telling me that there's about 21 to 24 kids that want to play baseball. And to me, that's just, as a six-man school, that jumps out to me because, you may get 11 to 15 kids, but 21 to 24, and that's a lot to work with, and that's exciting as a coach for me. And it's going to be tough. We're going to have challenges. There's going to be those bumps in the road, but it's going to be, how are we going to get over those, and how are we going to get to being a successful baseball program over the years?
Absolutely. And, you mentioned the amount of students that are interested in playing, and White Deer also adding volleyball and baseball, sports that students voted for to start up at the school. So obviously, you mentioned you have a group of students who are already ready to play and want to play, and that's something that I think, those of us, at least here in Amarillo or in Canyon, near the bigger schools, it's not something that we always think about. It's not something that you have to think about if you're coaching at Amarillo High, if you're coaching at Randall, if you're coaching at Palo Duro, any of these schools. It's not something that you're going to have to think about at a 4A, 5A, maybe even a 3A level with most sports. Now, that being said, White Deer, you're down to six-man football level in terms of enrollment. Not a lot of kids at that school, and you've already got a pool of kids excited to play for you. How much easier do you think that will make the transition, not only the transition from Follett to White Deer, from football to baseball, but also the transition from running a program to starting a program?
I think it plays a big effect because at this point, around here, 1A and 2A, you're combined districts. And so with how many teams we have, I'm pretty sure we're going to have to do where 1As play each other twice, and then 2As, you just play them once. But having a JV with that many kids, having that opportunity to start a program, but then also have enough kids to start a JV. You're getting some of those kids that could possibly not get reps on the varsity team, but now we're going to play these 2A teams, and now they're getting reps and they're getting enough. So having that amount of number in baseball, and I don't care if it's 2A, 3A, having 21 to 24 kids possibly in baseball, that's a big thing, especially in six-man. And like I said, that the JV is going to be the biggest part, getting those lesser kids that need a little bit more development, that's not ready for varsity, but having them to have hope to start on a JV team to get ready for the next year. And starting a program, man, just getting the kids playing time is going to be the biggest thing with starting this, and having that opportunity, that's going to be really big for us.
Would you say that in a way, and again, this is something that I think a lot of whether parents, students, whatever it may be, at some of the larger schools in our area may not ever think about because they don't have to think about, but would you say that having the amount of kids that you have may present a good problem to have in terms of getting everybody playing time?
Oh, absolutely. Of course, you need 9 at the end of the day. But when someone throws it in and say, hey, you got 21 kids, or hey, you got 24 kids, and you start trying to figure out, like, okay, what kid needs more playing time, or what kid can benefit here if this happens. But then also the same night is 2A games don't matter in 1A districts. So you could be like, okay, this kid has potential, so you could throw him in on varsity for a 2A game and be like, okay, yeah, that's the kid that can step up if someone gets hurt, or if I need a pinch runner, pinch hitter. And I think it plays a huge factor in six-man baseball.
Absolutely. Well, Coach Anderson, we're very excited for this, very excited for baseball season. Still, I mean, we're at the tail end of this baseball season, so we've got a bit of a ways away until the next baseball season starts. But that being said, once it does, we're very excited for that and excited to see about all the great stuff going on out at White Deer in this upcoming school year. Congratulations on the new job and best of luck going forward.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We'll be right back with more Sports Drive right after this break.